podcast. It's Northern Heresy with me, Rick, and my lovely co-host, Mr. Kyle. And today, we're going to be talking about Dreadnoughts, because they're cool and awesome and amazing and a must-have in every army. 5 Leviathans. All the Leviathans. But first we're going to be generally talking crap about stuff, and then we'll get into it. So how have you been, dude?
I've been doing pretty well.
Had a good week?
Had a really good week. Had a bit of a holiday. Just went off to merry old England, and I've come back with Now I'm getting prepped for the narrative weekend we have coming up soon.
Yeah, Sasha was trying to get me to go. I'm working, so I can't. So, yeah. But it has been an interesting week in Heresy Land with previews from Nova. Some obviously expected things, highly anticipated rumours that were proven to be correct, and then a complete curveball that come out of the... I actually lost £5 on that. There's a few other people online, content creators like that are into the heresy, that we bet money on what Primarch was going to be shown, and we all got it wrong. All of us. Completely all of us. So yeah, it's been an interesting preview. So yeah. But you've got the article open, so you can go through it.
So I have to say, whenever I saw this, I thought this is an amazing miniature. They've done a fantastic job of this miniature.
You are right.
However,
the Dreadnought is amazing.
I'm talking about, of course, the Snake Man.
It is good.
It's a very, very good looking model.
However,
it does put the fear in me about those wings, though.
Yes, it's big.
Transportation is going to be difficult.
Yeah,
and I think it depends where the model ends and the wings begin, and potentially magnetizing those parts.
Yes. Now, for me, it is beautiful. It's. I want to paint it.
Stunning miniature.
But this is the thing. It's kind of opened up this interesting paradox here in the Heresy Land, because we were always under the assumption that when it comes to doing the Siege of Terror and the Primarch Demon Princes, that we would ultimately be using the plastic ones, because they're already there. And this Fulgrim miniature is kind of thrown that now into an interesting dilemma, because Fulgrim hasn't come out in 40k yet.
No.
But this is not the full demon version of Fulgrim, which we know will be coming in 40k in 10th edition. This is ascended version. This is, if you've read the book Exterminatus with the Iron Warriors and the Emperor's Children, this is essentially the point where Fulgrim turns in from a mere Primarch to Snake Boy initially. So there's a lot to come for him, but from a design standpoint, what the hell can they do to improve on that miniature for 40k in a plastics kit? That's going to be nuts.
I can only imagine that with time, that Fulgrim's length of snake body will have grown. There'll be like barbed parts. There'll be a lot of different accents on it.
There's a very
even the corrupted armor that this kit is going to be in resin.
Yes.
Much to the distaste of every 40k player
Oh,
out there on the internet.
the comments on social media were priceless, absolute priceless. And some of the replies by the Warhammer community team were next level trolling. I think somebody had made a comment about like all the Iron Hand players are now leaving the chat out of disgust that it was a resin miniature, and the community team just come back and went, it's only a model, don't lose your head over it. And it was just like, oh, savage, just pure savagery. I love it, love it. But yeah, it's I mean, even the Mark III Marines, the comments that I've seen about them are a bit like. But this gets us back to what we've said before in the previous podcast, with like there's just some people just can't be happy.
I mean, we knew that they were going to be a reskinned sculpt of what the Mark VI were. We knew that they were
they'd already shown us. Yeah, they'd already shown us.
We already knew that they were going to be compatible with like the heavy weapon and the special weapon kits, so that they were all interchangeable. And it's a fantastic thing that they've wanted to do with this.
Yeah.
Because then you don't need separate kits.
Yeah.
For like your Mark III, your Mark IV, Mark V, Mark VI. It's just a different shape of armor.
Yeah.
But they're still doing the same pose. Whenever you got infantry en masse, who sees those poses, people?
Exactly. And the way that they're developing the plastic range for the Heresy is really, really good. You either like Mark VI or Mark III, or you don't like Mark III and you like the Mark VI, or I can imagine at some point in the very future we will have a Mark II tactical box, a Mark V tactical box, a Mark VII tactical box. I hear the crowd raging. Look, there's rumours that that's going to happen, so just get over it. But you've also got to understand that when it comes to Space Marines, in 40k, the humble Space Marine is no longer how we, our generation, remember them. They are now Primaris. 100%. That's it, done. Anything that they make now for 40k is going to be a Primaris Space Marine.
Well, they're either Primaris or they're a Terminator, Rick. Don't forget that.
But are they firstborn in those Terminators, or are they just Primaris? It doesn't really make a difference. I mean, look, like Games Workshop have clearly come up with the concept of what they want to do, and they have the perfect opportunity to refresh, refine, and enhance the older traditional look of the Space Marine, and essentially put it into the Horus Heresy, and give the Horus Heresy players all of that love. Like we're going to be doing something called Project Badab. So there's a couple of us are going to be doing Badab War armies, and now I'm not using Marines. I'm going for a pure Terminator army, but because the new Terminators are amazing. But a lot of the guys are looking at like using the Mark 6s, the new Mark 3s, getting some of the Mark 5s from Forge World and stuff like that. Obviously printing out stuff to create their armies, and I think that's the future for the Firstborn. Like we've got.
So you have a lot more experience in the 40k, like the current edition than I do.
Mm-hmm.
So my question would be: is that okay? So you've got your stat profiles. Is everything referred to as Primaris, or can you take any type of Marine to fill in those squads?
Well, no. Basically, you've got squad types now. So you still have your intercessors. You've got your you've got all of those. Tactical Marines are still a thing. They're still a unit. They're still going to be in the new Space Marine Codex, as are Devastator squads. Assault Marines are gone. Assault Marines have been legend, and in its place we now have Assault Intercessors with jump packs,
which look fantastic.
Yes, they are.
I saw the trailer for Space Marine 2 before I saw the release of Nova, and seeing the I think it was Lieutenant Titus now in a jump pack and it looked, instead of it being like the, is it Inceptors? It's
Yeah,
like
I
the
mean,
Gravis armor jetpack guys.
yeah, we when the rumors were circulating for these new assault marines, Primaris assault marines, there was a lot of rumors circulating it, and then we got the initial teaser for Space Marine 2, and it had that 1 second glimpse of him landing with the assault with the jump pack. So we
Yeah,
knew straight away what the jump pack was going to look like. And then the rumors kept on building and building and building. More information about them was coming out. The captain was talked about, and then we got the Dante model, and that confirmed straight away what the jump pack was going to look like. So we knew roughly the direction they're going to take this,
yeah.
which is really cool. I mean, like I like you know, I've got.
I mean,
my Primaris army is underway. I'm very much looking forward to the new, the element, the sort of assault element to it. But for anybody who's like doesn't like Primaris, like this is what 30k is for. You can still collect a 40k army, but just use the 30k Horus Heresy kits. I mean, at the end of the day, if you get the new Assault Marines that are coming out later this year or early start of next year, and you go, these are my Assault Marines. If you're playing 40k, no one's really going to care that you're using the Assault Intercessor with Jump Pack stat line, but having 30k Space Marines on the table, because they're on the same bases and they're pretty much the same size. Who cares? Space Marines is Space Marine.
yeah, because it's an interesting thing, because I've always had an idea of it's like eventually coming back to 40k with, and I think it's one of the recent, more recent novels for the Space Wolves where Niall goes back to Prospero, and I have an imagining of those two forces because obviously
and meets the 13th Company.
They meet the 13th Company and envelop them back into the Wolves.
Yeah.
And all I can imagine is a fielding of forces. Like if I have my Primaris Marines, they'll have a different shade of blue instead of like the grey that I use for my Heresy Wolves, and have them all mixed in together.
Yeah,
and I think thematically, I think it'll look, it just makes me buzz.
There's a lot of design aesthetics now coming into the Primaris range. Like the new Stern Guard is starting to put I say traditional Primaris armor. They've got like the Mark 7 helmets. They've got different pauldrons, and we're slowly now starting to see that aesthetic coming, which is really cool. And I'm hopefully that what they're doing in the 30k side will transfer into the 40k in regards to how the Marines and things will look.
It's that idea. It's why, I mean, most people I know like Mark 5, right?
Really?
Yeah. So if you imagine, so for Heresy, Mark 5 is anything that isn't just standard, right? It's a combination of all the other bits and pieces that you're able to get from the battlefield.
Yeah, Mark 5 should basically go, I've bought 4 kits, let's build a 10-man squad out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've made Mark 5 by combining like your Mark 3 and your Mark 4,
yeah,
and your Mark 6, and so on and so forth. So I mean, that idea can obviously definitely be used in 40k, because it used to be the same principle, because you used to get a lot of different like armor bits in the kits. They would have like molded knees. They would have Mark 6.
Yeah. The problem with the Primaris, you can't really do that with them.
No, but I can imagine that it's like helmets can always be swapped out, because they're always the same head size. So I mean, I wonder what. I'm sure somebody's done it where they put like Mark 3 heads on Primaris Marines.
Oh no, you can do. The heads and the arms are interchangeable.
Heads and shoulders.
Yeah,
they're the same.
So
I mean, doing that sort of thing, that's cool, but I don't know how it would work with their shape. Probably, I mean, they're kind of Mark 4 helmets with the Primaris.
Sort of, yeah. You could do. The only difference is you've got the Gorget at the front, which might cause a bit of a problem. for certain helmet mics. But yeah, you probably could do. But for me, the previews. At the first when we first seen the Mark III, I was a little bit like not 100% sure on them. The helmet spikes look a bit weird. I'm not massively into this. Now seeing the actual high-res pictures of them, they look good. I will say that the Space Wolf painted one looks gash. That looks horrible. I don't like that at all. But then I didn't like the Space Wolves painted up in the Mark III with the Burning and Prospero box. I thought they looked a bit naff as well.
So after looking at it, it's like paint jobs aside, because I think that judging it by the paint job is something that we shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, but when you look at the likes of in that picture of 4 Marines, you've got the Iron Warrior, which is perfection. The Ultramarine, too much gold, not enough white. I think if there was a little bit of white thrown in there, that would look really sweet.
Too clean.
Well, he's an Ultramarine. He's on the parade ground. It's what they do.
I think he's got a little bit of dust on his boot, but those graves are.
He'll have to get
pristine.
He'll have to get that cleaned, or otherwise he'll be on a show parade at 6 o'clock. The Space Wolf I just don't like. I think it is too clean. There's too much gold on there. There's not enough pack markings. It just doesn't look like a Space Wolf. The Thousand Sun I quite like, but I think rather than the gold on the shoulders, it should be white.
So I really like those the helmets without the vents.
Yeah.
So it's on the Space Wolf, it's on the Thousand Sun. I like that. It feels more as like you've got heavy armor on. It's like the spikes on every helmet though. I'd probably just clip them off.
I mean, there was a comment that obviously in the WhatsApp group
there was a comment about why are we not.
Do you know what? I'm going to say this now because if the guy watches this, and I am going to be sharing the podcast into the group, if this guy who decided to cry to an admin because I took the piss out of his comment watches this, you are a dickhead. That's me calling you a name. But it was a pure whinge fest of the armor's not the right shape, the elbows are not the same, the barrel's longer and bigger, and it was like a list of shit that we've talked about this on the podcast before about how the heresy community has this perception that we're rivet counters, that we're anal about how models should be presented in regards to how your army is. And we've had many comments this weekend regarding the new Mark III that people don't like it because it's different and it kind of is a retcon, and people don't like the Mark VI because Mark VI wasn't prevalent in the heresy, which is kind of balls because it literally says so in the book. And there's all of these weird perceptions around what armor you should have at a certain period of time. And this guy's post was that entire attitude in one post. And I was like, but dude, you do realize that you're gatekeeping here. Do you know what I mean? You are gatekeeping. And the people that have this negative view of the heresy community, like some of these YouTubers, Hellstorm Wargaming being a prime example, uses those comments to justify their opinion of all of us. And it's like, but it's just stupid. Absolutely stupid.
For me, it's like these, it's like, I'm in a position where I do not need these.
Similar, I'm the same.
But I'm in a very different position compared to most other people with collections, right?
Yeah.
So the way that I look at this is this is fantastic, because think about Age of Darkness is only just about a year and a bit old now.
Yes.
And the people that would have started collecting this from last year. That's the perspective that I'm taking this from.
Yeah.
Is somebody who's just decided to start and what they'll have available to them. And obviously by this point, if they've got real deep, they will have been
5,000
like
points deep.
Much, yeah. It's like salamanders deep within a year. So you've got to think from that perspective. So people are going to have the 40 infantry that you have from the starter box,
which is a really good box.
Which is a really good box. You're going to have your 10 Terminators.
Yeah.
You're going to have your Dreadnought. You're going to have your Spartan.
And 2 HQs.
You're going to have your 2 HQs. Now, with all of the tanks, because this has been a year of tanks for Heresy.
Yes.
The year of the tank is what Heresy has had, which has been fantastic. A lot of resin kits have been moved over to plastic. The 2 of the Sicarans, you've got the Spartan, you've got the Land Raider variant, you've got the Rhino, you've got the Scorpius, you've got the Vindicator,
the super heavies, the Typhoon, the Cerberus.
Yeah. So everything that shares the Spartan chassis is all out. Predators, can't forget the Predators. So like all of those chassis types is like for like the Rhino chassis have been done. The Land Raider chassis, if they could bring out an Achilles kit, that'd be sweet. But otherwise,
I mean, there's still a couple of Sicarans to come, but I mean, they could easily be brought out as upgrade sprues for the existing kit. They won't, because Games Workshop will literally sell an additional box for that tank. And I would love to see a command rhino come out. That would be really. It exists, but it would be really cool as a full plastic kit to come out. But there's a lot of things that they'll be able to do from now on in the future. But on regards to the Mark III and it being updated, as a Heresy player, that gives me hope and happiness because our game is getting love. Now, Games Workshop didn't have to invest the time and the resources in updating a plastic kit that is less than 10 years old. Now, they could have literally just brought out Mark II. That would have been met with probably a little bit more praise and joy. But we got an update in Mark III.
Yeah.
But you've also got to remember that it's choice. It gives us, the collector and the player, options. And that box set that's coming out is amazing. I mean, 2 of those boxes is an army, minus your HQs.
Because you got to think in the perspective of Heresy is all about the infantry. It's like all of the infantry that you'll have from starter box. You might have bought a few extra kits to buff up your infantry, because typically you're wanting minimum 30 guys to be 3 tactical squads for your troop choices and things.
Yeah.
You're going to want your heavy support squads, your support squads if you take them, and then some mad people might have bought resin chain swords and bolt pistols instead of just getting them 3D printed. But
don't diss on the people who buy the despoiler arms, man. They're a special person. They're special because they're crazy. They're nuts, man.
I mean, what can I say? I bought the wolf heads for the Mark VI.
Well, they're all right.
But yeah, I think that the Mark III in plastic gives them a fantastic opportunity, because those people that don't like Mark VI can now use Mark III.
Mm-hmm.
And all the other parts that you don't have a problem with and are compatible can be used. Sure, the command kit is identical. It works between them all.
Yeah,
as well.
and I think that's going to be.
That's why the Power Fist looks a little bit different, because it is the Mark VI one.
Yeah, but I've got a feeling that in the future we're going to see a Mark IV update, we're going to see a Cataphracti update. We're going to see a Tartarus update. We are probably more than likely going to see a Mark II kit. It's going to happen because at some point, because of the speed in which they've done this, they're going to run out of things to do. They're going to run out of things to change from the Forge World site into plastic, which means that they're going to have to go in and go, right, we need to make a Mark II kit now. We need to make a Mark V kit. Here's a Mark IV jump pack kit.
I don't think they're anywhere near ending that list, though.
They're, for core things, yeah. I mean,
what do you consider core? If it's just Legion stuff,
no, your generic specific stuff. Your Legion specific stuff. Yeah, I would love them to actually give Legions the same treatment across the board rather than just Imperial Fists. I would like some Praetor models for my Legion. I'm sure World Eater players and Iron Warrior players are the same. I reckon Raven Guard would probably like a couple of characters as well. But I also think that there are certain resin Legion kits that could probably do with a bit of an update. Here's looking at you, Rampagers for the World Eaters. Because they're a horrible kit. They were one of the first to come out. They're horrendous. They're too small for a start.
They are ugly.
They are really bad. And I think the fact
which is a shame considering how
great they are in game now.
Good they are, and because they're like proto berserkers, aren't they?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, it's like they're the elite, the ones that haven't quite lost their minds, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of hope that they're going to do this. There's like we're getting so many cool things now coming out in resin, and like we were talking about this in the WhatsApp group with the autumn is being done now. We know what's coming. Now we're looking at the winter and the Assault Marines, the characters and updates. Now that's the section I'm interested in now, because we have no idea what that part of that is, unless that is the Imperial Fist guy.
Well, updates, if they're going to keep to like an update schedule, and this is going to be updates for the game and possibly like a big overhaul in terms of FAQ and
ignore your FAQ, man. It's not happening.
I could live in hope. I could live in hope that somebody there is someone behind the wheel with the game.
No, they're too busy writing the rules for Warhammer: The Old World. It's not happening. There's only 2 of them. Leave them alone.
I'm available.
Yeah, we can knock out an FAQ for you in no time. I am so rewriting those rules for the Dark Angels. Jesus, I was reading that the other day in preparation for when we do the podcast on them, and my head was pickled.
Yeah,
absolutely pickled.
I did try and warn you.
Oh man, it's so horrible. It was like, what? Why? Oh yeah, but no, I think there was a lot of really cool previews. The Dreadnought.
I like the Dorito.
The Dorito is exactly what you expected to be.
This is a little bit of an inside joke because before we actually could read it multiple times and pronounce it as Derideo, it was called a Dodo.
Yep, the Dodo.
It was, and it turned into a Dorito, and that is stuck.
Yeah,
but the Dorado.
I'm still going to call it the Dorito.
Derideo?
The Derideo, or the Dorito sounds better.
Or the Dorito.
Or the Dodo is
so
even
the Dorito plastic kit, I'm really pleased with how this thing looks. I was really worried about it going to plastic.
Why?
Because, so, my thought...
Well, your camera's gone off.
Pause this show.
Yeah, he's back. I'll edit that out.
Cool. So, my worry was all about the belt feeds for the autocannons.
Now, Well, obviously today's show is he's gone again. Where's he going? I'm not editing this. See, this is the beauty of technical stuff.
Wizardry.
So, seeing as that we're talking about Dreadnoughts this week, we might as well talk about the Dodo right now. Seeing as that we're talking about the model, as he froze again, he has. No, yeah, maybe.
Hello?
Yes,
Are you there?
you seem to be back.
Okay.
Right.
So,
seeing as that we're talking about the Dodo, I'm pretty sure you're trolling me now.
Right, okay. I can still talk. Can I still be heard?
You can.
Okay. Technical difficulties with the camera.
Right. So, seeing as that we're talking about it, let's might as well talk about the rules.
Yeah. So I actually didn't pay attention to the Deradeo rules, because it was always on my like want list for Forge World, and now it's coming to plastic. It's going to be much more affordable, and
Yeah.
I'm excited to own them. So for the first time this week, I went up and looked at the Deradeo rules to see how good they were and what their different bits were like. So Deradeo is a heavy sport slot dreadnought.
Mm-hmm.
You can take it in a talon of 1 to 2.
Okay. Similar to a Leviathan then.
So similar to a Leviathan.
Oh no, a Leviathan can have 3.
It can have 3. The Deradeo is the only one limited to 2. So they're 205 points. There's no tax exemption for taking a second one, like there is with some units.
Mm-hmm.
They come with the Anvilus autocannon battery, twin-linked heavy bolter. They come with 4 Boreas air defense missiles. They have a 5-up invulnerable save, and they get a helical targeting array for free. So there's 4 different weapon options that you can take. The autocannon is quite nice as an all-rounder.
Yeah, 4 shots, rending 5, Sunder twin linked is pretty solid. Strength 7 though.
Yeah, it's all right as a free option, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the missiles is because you don't get, if I'm correct in thinking from what they've shown, we're not getting the Volkite and we're not getting those 4 missiles. It's just the normal missile pods.
So we're getting the how do you say this? The Alos missile launcher instead of the. So they're actually I think the preferred turret to take, and it's just it's a no-brainer to take them over the other ones because these are infinite. These are infinite use, whereas the other ones you only get 4 shots with it.
Yeah. So when you look at the picture in the on the page 67 of your book, you'll see the 4 missiles. Now, the model that's coming out in plastic won't come with those 4 missiles. At least they haven't shown us it.
They haven't shown us any of it, yeah.
But then there's also the Volkite arms, and the las cannon battery, which are also not in plastic as it appears.
So the reason that I say so the stock missile profile, 48-inch range, strength 8, AP2, pretty good so far.
Yeah.
Heavy 1, Skyfire, so you're not getting a ballistic skill downgrade for shooting up.
Mm-hmm.
You've got guided fire, so you don't need to see the target to shoot at it. 1 shot.
Yeah.
So you get 4 shots with it, and you're done. I think it's much better to take the Alos, which is 60-inch range, strength 6, AP 3, heavy 3, pinning, and it has guided fire, so you don't need to see them to shoot. I think it turns it into a completely different machine.
I think if you're taking the air defense, obviously, if you're coming up against a lot of aircraft, then they're pretty decent, you know, anti-air.
But you've got a helical targeting array, so if you stand still, you can shoot up already. So the Skyfire's a bit redundant.
True. Yeah, because it comes built in with the targeting array now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know you're back. Welcome back.
Technology might sustain me.
So, the autocannons are pretty good, but personally, for me, I mean, you've got the plasma or the las cannon or the Volkite.
Yeah, so the Volkite's the other free option that you have with it.
Yeah, which you don't seem to
get. I personally like Volkite. It's not so much whenever I'm fighting you, because obviously everything is 1 less strength.
Well, no, 1 less on the dice roll.
1 less in the dice roll. So yeah, it's practically the same thing. Because I don't go for like killing you outright with Volkite. That's not the point of it.
No. I mean, the Volkite version is strength 7, AP 5, 45 inches.
Falconet.
Heavy 8 shots. Obviously, deflagellate, twin linked, and pinning.
Yeah. So you can
8 shots.
8 shots with that, 3 shots with the missile system, all of it pinning. I mean, it's just a match made in heaven, really.
Yeah.
It's a pinning machine.
I mean, for me, if I was going to take one, it would either probably be the plasma or the las cannon. Probably.
Now, those are the other 2 options. Now, I personally am a big fan of the las cannon.
The las cannon is just solid.
The las cannon is wicked.
But the plasma cannonade, I mean, you've got the 2 options of firing. So they're both 36-inch range. So you've got sustained or maximal. So one strength 7, the other one is strength 8. So if you go for the sustained, you've got heavy 6, breaching 4+. It's not bad. It's not bad. And if you go for the maximal fire, you're heavy 1, but obviously you're strength 8. You're rending 4+, but you do gets hot, and it's a large blast template. So, I mean,
it's flexibility. Is what you're getting from that.
Yeah, if you don't roll a 1, you know, you don't roll a 1. Now the question is it you replace?
The fact that it goes up to strength 8 is where this sells me.
See, the one thing that just annoys me with that is it's not twin linked, because there's technically 2 guns, and it's not twin linked. So if it was heavy 1 twin linked, that I would love that. But it's not. So, but yeah. The strength 8 is really but you're hitting on 2s because it's what, ballistic skill 5, aren't you? Yeah. So you're hitting on 2s. But if you are firing that, you're actually you still roll a hit and then you roll your scatter, don't you?
Yeah. So with gets hot and blast weapons, is you roll a gets hot.
Yeah.
For the shot before you fire it.
Just don't roll a 1.
And then whenever you do roll a 1, it's AP 4, so you'll take an armor save.
Yeah. I mean, the strength 8 is nice because if you put that large template into Terminators, and any invulnerable saves that they fail, it's just one shot on them. Yeah. I mean, I like that, but obviously,
it's I think one of the better plasma weapons in the game at the minute.
Yeah, obviously you're going to pay the extra 5 points, and you're going to bring the las cannons.
That's where I'm leaning towards.
Yes. Because why the hell would you not bring a heavy las cannon battery? Strength 10, AP 2, heavy 2, sunder, shock, shock assault 5+, and twin linked. Like, you know, just in case you roll that 1, you get to re-roll it.
Yeah, so Exoshock Crick is extra damage on that roll.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's going to be really good for smashing Dreadnoughts. It's really good for killing.
Really, for those big, hard targets, you want these things to be firing.
Now, obviously, Dreadnoughts don't care about Sunder. You're not getting your rerolls on that.
No.
But you don't
not
really care. No.
These are designed to take a hill or take a position where they're able to get visuals on a lot of stuff. Sit still and wait for you to try and bring anything on. If it's in the air, this thing is going to shoot it down.
Yes. We're lucky in our meta that there's not very many aircraft.
Aircraft have fallen out of favour, I think. They're too expensive on the whole, and they don't do an awful lot on the table whenever they are there.
Yeah. The old Dodo may probably see space in my collection. I will probably get 2 to feel the Talon. I'm going to hold off getting them because I want to see if the other weapon options come out in plastic, mainly that las cannon array. If the las cannon comes out in plastic, I'm all over it like a fat kid in a sweet shop.
Yeah.
It's an interesting system, but it always has been that real good weapon platform for Dreadnoughts.
I mean, I don't think I've ever heard. Well, I think I've played against one person with them, and I think it was Ultramarines, and that was in first edition. I haven't really seen anybody field them in this edition, and using it like a gun platform. An awful lot of people seem to be. I've seen more Leviathan with double storm cannons than I've seen Daredeos.
The only problem I would say with what it is and the slot that it fills is, one, it's going up against the Leviathan, which we'll talk about in a second, and 2, we have Vindicators that even if you change for the Laser Destroyers turrets, it still comes in at 140 points, which is way cheaper than what this Dreadnought is. So you've already got major competition for that role, and a tank has a cheaper option and probably has more damage output than what this Dreadnought has. The cool factor is the Dodo wins hands down.
I've always found that the heavy support, my dilemma of what choices to actually bring in my heavy support slots is hard, because there's so many cool things that live in the heavy support slots.
Yeah. I mean, if you want a tank hunter, do you literally just bring a Venenator?
Yeah.
Or do you bring one of the Sakarans, or do you bring I'll happily turn around and say that after my last game against the Night Lords with my 3 Predators with that melter turret, oh my lord, they were brutal, absolutely brutal, and they're dirt cheap. So I don't know. I think if you're going for a heavy Dreadnought list, an old Dreadnought list, this may be an option to give you that a little bit of extra long range fire support. But I think for a Dreadnought in your army to take out tanks, there's better options.
Yeah, it fills a very niche role. Because it doesn't like close combat.
Oh, good God, no.
I mean, it'll survive because it's still got the stats of a Contemptor, so it's still strength and toughness 7, but it doesn't have any melee capability. You don't want it to be there, because if you're there, then you're not shooting.
Yeah. It's a weird Dreadnought.
I mean, I get the idea. I get the idea, and I'm going to happily add 2 once the las cannon option comes out to add to my dreadnought horde, so that I can build it up to 2,500 points.
I personally think that it's not really there for anti-vehicle or anything like that. It's an anti-air turret. That's its primarily designed role.
I like it as anti-infantry.
Yeah, that works, but so does a Volkite touting Predator.
Yeah,
I think in an anti-air role, there's nothing better than this. I think once you start trying to force it into the other roles, anti-infantry or anti-tank, then you start coming for cheaper, better alternatives. And one of those better alternatives,
it's the king of air control.
Oh yeah.
That is the purpose of the Daredale.
Yeah.
It's there for all of your interceptor needs, and that is all interceptor needs, not just those coming from the sky.
Yeah.
That's the important thing. You're giving this thing free interceptor like it has its own augury scanner. If you try and come near this thing, it will delete you.
Yeah. Yeah. But onto my firm favourite, the Leviathan. As I look across to the corner of my desk and see Pinky and Perky stood there. Oh, the Leviathan. I mean, these things, not only did they look amazing, like, they're just big boys. Big chunky boys.
It's a satisfying lump.
It is, and like they're amazing kits. The plastic kit is so good.
I found it a real joy to build my plastic Leviathan.
Yeah,
it was so easy and so good.
The only thing that I will say I don't like is building the lower part of the legs, because it's like in 4 parts, and that was quite annoying.
I was really satisfied by the posability that I could put in.
Yeah, there's that, but it was the building of the lower part of the legs that annoyed me. I was like, why am I doing this? But it's a really cool kit. Now,
I think I'm going to have to set you a challenge if you think that is overly complex. It involves a Gundam kit.
No, this is not a Gundam channel, my friend. It's not happening.
I've only just started to realise how many parts are in those things.
I've seen a few videos on YouTube with them, and yeah, it blew me away with some of what those guys do. But no.
But anyway, back to Heresy.
Leviathans. I mean, like, what is not to like? It's 270 points. I mean,
pricey boy.
It's a pricey boy, but your strength 8, toughness 8 base. You've got 5 attacks, but you do lose an attack if you take a close combat handoff and give yourself a gun.
Move through cover.
Yes, it has move through cover.
Hammer of Wrath 3,
which I always forget about.
If you're not excited for it, and I mean, I play obviously Space Wolves. I'm all about the fights. I remember all of my triggers.
My second Legion is going to be close combat focused, and one of the things that I will 100% be having is 2 Leviathan Dreadnoughts purely kitted out for close combat. Now, these are either going to be pink or they're going to be white and red, because it's probably either going to be an Emperor's Children army or a World Eaters army.
I thought you were talking about Iron Warriors not too long ago.
No, they're a shooty army. Unless I did an Iron Warriors Breacher army, which is like over the breach into the Forlorn Hope, but that's no.
I mean, no. 2 Leviathans with 4 storm cannons.
It would be very quick and easy to paint.
Chevrons have always held a little bit of mystery to me and daunting. And I know that you use stencils and stuff to produce.
You literally use this stuff right here. It's like 3 mil masking tape. You can get like a big bundle of it off Amazon for like £3, and they come in all different shapes and sizes. That right there is how you do your chevrons. Yes, it would be a very quick army to paint, but knowing what the World Eaters do,
and you've always been a fan. You've always been a fan of the World Eaters, really.
I did them. I did them.
Had how many World Eaters armies over the years?
3.
Not more.
No, I had 2 in the Heresy, and then I just had 1 in 40k, and that's just been sold.
Oh, did you not do like the old Born Demon Kin as well?
Oh, I don't really. Yeah, but they weren't really World Eaters. They were Crimson Slaughter. They stopped being World Eaters when they wouldn't let me bring Khan, and I was like very upset because Khan just wasn't allowed to be in the army, and I was very, very annoyed by that.
Much regret.
But I mean, if you want to go pure close combat, you're not going to get any better than World Eaters. Like the rule of thumb is, if you ever play World Eaters, people, is do not let them charge you. If you get charged by a World Eater army, you are fucked.
You're in for a bad time.
It's got to hurt. It's now imagine a Leviathan charging with 5 attacks plus 1 for the charge.
Yeah, because it gets extra attack. He gets extra attacks and extra range.
For what?
For his charge move, because he's World Eaters.
Well, this is before you even look at the World Eaters. So the Leviathan itself comes at 5 attacks base.
Yeah.
So, but if you charge, you get the +1 attack.
Yes.
So you're looking at 6 attacks on the charge at weapon skill 5. So against most chaff units, it's going to be hitting you on 3s.
And that's only using the base profile.
That's obviously literally just using the base profile. Now, when you throw the World Eaters on top of that, you're looking at things like Rage, Furious Charge, and all of this craziness getting put on. This thing becomes mental.
The Hammer of Wrath, I think, is really important, because obviously it's a lot slower in the Dreadnought chassis, because it can only move 6 and it's heavy, so it can't run. So it's always slow to get it across the table if you don't have a delivery system like a drop pod. But I've not really had that problem with mine, because I've sort of designed it around. Well, if it's got storm cannons, most of my stuff is going to everything.
He's still here. His camera's just freaking out.
So I find that an awful lot of bang for your buck in terms of your weapon choices.
Yeah, I mean the normal standard clippy claw for a Leviathan is brutal 3.
Yeah. But so the claws come with an inbuilt melter gun. That's fine. That's your standard melter gun. But if you decide to like swap out one of the weapons, maybe take a Phosphex discharger, because it's also 18-inch range. But then like the melter cannon, I think, is a really strong contender.
I have one of those on my Leviathan.
I really like the melter cannon, and in tandem with a snippy claw. With a Phosphex.
Yeah, my melter Leviathan is built with the siege drill.
Yeah, which still has a melter gun in it, and is just even better against vehicles.
Well, it's strength 12, so it's a little bit, but it doesn't have the brutal 3.
But does have armor bane.
Yes, it does. Yeah. But it's designed to kill tanks. I mean, but
yeah.
One of the things I would like to do for my Salamanders is get a 3rd Leviathan and put 2 melter arrays on it. And then invest in a Legion Dreadnought drop pod. So for those armies that want to bring lots of armor, I drop it down amongst you and it gets out and it just starts killing everything around it.
Yes, because that is the wonderful thing, because you can mount a Leviathan in a Dreadnought drop pod or a Charybdis Assault Claw if you feel like it.
Yeah, because the Assault Claw is really what you want. I mean, if you're going to go for the World Eaters Assault version, then Assault Clause is because you can get out an assault from that.
Yes, you can.
But there are some interesting options with it. The one of the things that I was taken aback by with one of my first games of second edition was when I took on Chris and his Night Lords, and he brought in a twin Storm Cannon Leviathan. Now, in first edition, the Storm Cannon wasn't very good. It was kind of overlooked by the Grav and the Melter Lance. In second edition, the Storm Cannon is really good. And when he fired up my Spartan, he took off 5 hull points straight away. And I was like, what the hell just happened there? That is mental.
Yeah, it's a... am I back?
Yeah, you are back.
It's astonishing to see how many shots the Storm Cannons are able to push out in a single turn.
Yeah, I mean, there's 6 shots each.
Yeah.
It's just, and it's nuts. They are scary. I mean, like, in one of our games, is what, you fired at me and I returned fire with my Leviathan and blew your tank off the table.
Yep.
Using the Storm Cannon. I think the one thing that is a little bit of a letdown in second edition is the Grav Flux Bombard. It's not as scary as it was in first edition.
It's very average.
But it is only 5 points. So if you want dirt cheap.
I'm flicking to where the Grav Flux Bombard lives. So the Grav Flux Bombard is 18-inch range.
Mm-hmm.
Strength, not applicable.
Yes.
AB4.
Yes.
Heavy 1, Large Blast, Graviton Collapse, Portion Crusher, Ignores Cover, and Concussive 1.
Mm-hmm.
So, your Graviton Collapse.
I believe that's you roll your wound roll based on the armor that the model has got. I believe. Well, that's the other one. I think that's how Grav works.
Because unlike all other Grav weapons, the Grav Flux Bombard does its own thing. So you don't get haywire with it, and you don't... You have a completely separate set of rules for it.
Right. So
Graviton Collapse. So instead of rolling to wound normally, with a weapon with a special roll, that rolls strength on a 2d6 roll.
Mm-hmm.
Or it suffers a wound. Armor saves and mitigation rolls may be taken as normal, except Shrouded, which may not be used. Against targets with armor value, the attacking player rolls 4d6 for armor penetration instead. So that's what Graviton Collapse does. So that sounds pretty good, right? So 4d6 is like, you could roll 4 6s and get more than you'd ever need, right?
Yeah.
I really like it against infantry because chances are you're going to fail a strength test on your men, so you're going to take those saves.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to be taking armor saves and you'll feel no pains. It's just a different way of wounding them.
Yes, and it's what, 2d6. So against Marines, it's 2d6 scoring 4 or more.
So they need to score under 4.
Oh, right.
Not above. Yeah. So I think it works really well against infantry. They're going to feel that most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
On 2d6. Against armor, though, I'm not a fan, because outside of those times where you're going to see like really, really bizarre numbers, where you're going to roll those 4 6s on that one roll, that's going to feel amazing. But the most of the time, I think you're going to end up Okay.
I think Kyle is having issues today, everybody.
Glad we're not talking about something important like the Imperial Fists or Dark
Oh,
Angels.
there'd be such outrage. Yeah, like it's an interesting weapon, but I just don't think it's
there is another rule with it.
the grav torsion thing. I did look, I couldn't find it. I was expecting it to be in the main rulebook.
Torsion Crusher. So, Torsion Crusher sounds really good.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you shoot somebody with an armor value and it's struck by this, the amount of hull point damage caused by this weapon is doubled.
Right.
So that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time you're going to be maybe glancing something.
Yeah. I mean, the bottom line is not many people are going to bring grav bombards on their Leviathans because they're just not that great. I mean, for the range of 18 inches,
it's certainly not the AP3 nonsense that it was in the version 1.
Yeah.
However, you're still going to inflict casualties.
You are.
If you throw it at infantry like you did in version 1.
A storm cannon probably do just as much damage, if not more. And the melter lance is just great at killing infantry and great at killing tanks.
It just
deletes everything, and that's speaking from experience of someone who uses one and was firing at tactical marines because it's hilarious. But I really like the Leviathan. I only have 2 at the moment, but I'm definitely thinking maybe of a 3rd for my salamanders, and then I'll be bringing 2 for my close combat legion when I start them. But I mean, for heavy support choices, that is the only 2 dreadnoughts you've got.
What do you think of the Phostax discharger, Rick?
I've modelled them, but I've yet to actually use them. I feel kind of dirty having them in my salamander army because it's something that as a legion we don't really do. Yet I've got them on my Leviathans and have access to them.
And I suppose you upgrade your heavy flamers to Dragon Breath?
Oh, 100%. I've got nipple flamers, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. It's the only way to go.
I am a Volkite man through and through. I think that since the thing is so slow, you may as well have little guns 30 inches away being able to ping things. And maybe burn people away with a deflagrate every now and then.
I look at my flamers that there as more of a an anti-charge or deterrent, because people know that it's that I've got the D6 wall of death rather than the D3, and there's 2 of them, so it's 2d6 coming in. And that's pretty much what they're for. I mean, like, if you're close to me and I'm going to charge you, I might fire them out at you just to burn you a little bit before I go in.
Yeah.
But they're really there more of a, like, okay, you can go ahead and charge me, but I'm going to burn you on your way in, and then I'm going to snip you in half. But that's the salamander way, really.
Yeah. The Leviathan does take up another one of those obviously very tasty heavy support slots.
But you have a Talon, so you can bring 3 and then still operate.
The Talon is supreme, of course.
Yes. Squadrons should work just the same way.
They should, and I really do think they should do like that. And I think squadrons should have the option to detach rather than being separate like the Dreadnoughts.
Yeah. In Project Badab, because I'm the one that's writing the Badab War supplement that we're going to be using, our squadron rules will work exactly like a Talon. They have to be deployed within 4 inches of each other, but then as soon as the game starts at round 1, they're free to operate as separate units.
That's cool.
Yeah. Because I don't understand why tanks have to stay within range.
Tanks need a little bit of love. And I think that we can take some examples. And you're using Heresy as a base.
We're using the 2.0 rulebook. There's a few things that are getting tweaked. And there's certain pieces of war gear that won't be available. So, like some Vexillas won't be available in squads because of
they shall know.
We shall have no fear. Certain units and things just won't be available because chapters don't use them.
Yeah, because you're doing this. This is like a community project where
it is.
There's some people that are wanting to do this and have like little 1,000-point armies or whatnot, and be able to just showcase because we got into a big discussion about the Badab War and the different color schemes and because it was really the last time that you saw alternate color schemes in Marines before.
There's also a lot of history in regards to the Badab War for 40k as a whole. I mean, the Badab War was the first real campaign story that they did for 40k back at the end of Rogue Trader into 2nd edition. It was like the first sort of real Marine on Marine conflict. It's not really Loyalist versus Traitor or Loyalist versus Chaos. It's Loyalist versus Loyalist. There's the Chaos element doesn't really come into it until the end.
Yeah, the story of
it's a really good complex story, and they've built upon it really well. But and as Horus Heresy players, for any of you new Horus Heresy players who are coming into 2.0, the only reason why we have the Horus Heresy as a game is because Forge World did the Badab War first as more of a test to see if an entire Marine-focused campaign would become popular. And it really was. I mean, this was where we first got our Mark IV and our Mark III resin kits from. And the Tartarus Terminators were first shown.
Before that, we had like campaign books coming out from Forge World. It was like limited series.
The Imperial Armor books.
Where it was the Imperial Armor books, and it was a quality book. Quality stuff in those books.
Yeah.
And this is not to besmirch the history of the
Yeah, the Imperial Armor books were well, the first and the second weren't really campaign books. They were more like, here's a book for a lot of cool tanks that you don't get in 40k.
Yeah, so they did like what you now see from like indexes.
Yeah.
And it was like you got like a separate book for like traitor war machines and then imperial war machines, and that's where the original like Marauder bombers and like big toys that you wouldn't see in regular games because of it was a different type of game.
It was, but the Forge World Imperial Armor books changed with number 3, because number 3 was where we got the Taurus campaign, which was against the Tau, and you had you had the Raptors Space Marine chapter, and fighting alongside the Imperial Guard against the Tau, and it was very much a Tau focused book, because that's where all the Tau got all of their really cool Forge World stuff, likes of things like the Tiger Shark, Titan Hunter, and the Manta, and all of these really cool kits that Forge World were making for the Tau. That's where they kind of come in, and it was this really cool story. Like I have a real love for that book, because it's got one of my favorite parts in it completely, where the Raptors deploy the Assault Marines, and they kind of go into sort of low orbit. Basically, they're like skimming the stratosphere of the planet in their Thunderhawks, and they kind of open the back door, and the Space Marines, Assault Marines, kind of just debus, just basically like modern day Special Forces do, but just way higher, and they kind of just free fall towards their target location, hitting their thrusters every now and again to adjust and to stay on target. And then as soon as they're like a couple of 100 meters away from the floor, they just ignite all of their jump packs and land, and then they run off and go and do their mission. And it was like the first time that you sort of seen Space Marines portrayed in that special forces
actual tactical things.
Yeah, and it was so cool. And it was like, this is amazing.
There's much props for the Raptors chapter.
Yeah, they're really cool.
Big fan. They are pragmatic. They do not care about the Imperial Creed.
No.
They just want to get the job done. They typically just number everything, and they're pretty much the British Army.
They are basically the SAS in Space Marine form. Like they're all about their covert ops.
Yeah,
you know, they are really cool. But then from that one, then we got into like number 4 and 5, which was very much sort of introducing the Red Scorpions to the sort of Forge World ecosystem.
Yeah, because the hello.
Yeah, you're still there.
So the Red Scorpions, I've always treated them as very much like a Forge World in-house chapter. Compared to the likes of the Raptors and like the Shadow Spectres and things, it's always been the Red Scorpions are the Forge World chapter.
Yeah.
Right.
But they did something really cool with the Red Scorpions, because when they introduced them in number 4. And we've all heard of this character, and Commander Cullen. So the first time that you ever see Commander Cullen is as a sergeant in charge of the assault squad, and he actually had a model in charge of that assault squad for the Red Scorpions.
I think he had a mohawk.
He did have a mohawk, and then later on, after we get some Tyranid books, we got the Badab books, and then he come back out again, but this time he was Commander Cullen, and he was in charge of the Red Scorpions chapter, and he had a really nice model in Terminator armor. And obviously at some stage in the very distant future, he is mortally wounded, and we got the Leviathan version of Commander Cullen, which is I believe is still available from the Forge World website. But it's an amazing miniature. I think it is like one of his arms is basically like 4 assault cannons as his gun, because, you know,
ridiculous amounts of assault cannons.
Why the hell not?
Plus Snippy Claw.
Yeah.
However, I've always questioned it, saying it's like, have they forgot what happens to people that they put into Leviathans?
Well, I think this is before we really got the lore of what a Leviathan is. And it was that he was the first Leviathan Dreadnought, because up until that point we didn't really have them. And then
the primary like resin kits and stuff would be out. He was quite a late entry, because I think it came out around about the same time as the White Scars or the Blood Angels only variant.
Yeah, I think there was a Leviathan in the Badab. I think it was in the Badab book they started bringing it in, because they had like the Mark IV, the Mark III, the Tartarus Terminators come out with the Badab books.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of other bits and pieces, but there was a lot of marine on marine stuff. And I always remember being at Games Day when Book 2 was released, and I was sort of like looking at all the stuff, and there was the guy who run Forge World behind the table, and this guy was like basically flat out and asked them, was like, are you going to do the Horus Heresy? And the guy behind the desk, he just smiled and was like, it's something we're talking about. And then within a year, we got the first Horus Heresy sort of confirmed thing that it was actually going ahead and happening. And by that point, everything changed. Like, it was... So
because up until the likes of because obviously you've got the likes of the Siege of Vrak series that happened.
Yeah, the Siege of Vrak was cool.
Yeah, all these different mini series that they did, and Bad War was very similar because it was over a 2-part.
Yeah, it was a 2-book set.
It was a 2-book set, and the first one gave you like the run up as like how this entire thing is developed, and how this chapter master has gone so awry with his thinking, and how other they're
Oh, we maybe have to cut this one early, I think. But if you are new to the general hobby and stuff like that, then seriously check out the Badab books. And if you can get a hold of a second-hand copy because they're no longer in print, I highly recommend getting them. I kind of regret giving my copies to my friend Tom now because they are really good. But because I think what we'll do is we'll while we wait for Kyle to re-square himself away, we'll get the Contemptor done.
Let's see if we're able to talk about Contemptors.
So a Contemptor is the only elite's choice we have for Dreadnoughts.
Well, it's not the only one, but we'll talk about it. We'll talk about.
You're going to talk about the box Dreadnought.
I mean, we could do that now while I know that my audio was working.
Well, we kind of call it audio working. It's not great. But Contemptors is 175 points. Like all Dreadnoughts in 30k, they come in their talons, so you can get up to 3 of them in a unit A. They have the usual transport options of a Legion Dreadnought drop pod. These don't have the claws as an option. It's the same points, 175 points for adding 2 additional ones. And then you have a very wide array of weapon options. Now, the plastic kit is really good because it'll kind of give you most of these options.
I believe it does. I believe it might even give you doubles.
No, it doesn't.
No?
No, I think it gives
you...
No, the one in the Age of Darkness box is a sprue missing.
Yes, because it came out before the full...
Yeah, yeah, because I got the Age of Darkness one and there's parts missing that I don't have, so... Because you don't get a Carey's Assault Cannon with the Age of Darkness one. But if you buy the plastic kit on its own, in its own box, you get all of the gun options and you get the close combat harm options. And then I believe you can buy the additional frames separately, either the gun or the choppy stippy hands, to get the close combat variant. But
now, I'm gonna come across with a controversial statement about one weapon option in particular.
Go on then.
So the Gravis Melta Cannon.
Yes.
Has no business being only 5 points.
How dare you?
Now, before the community kills me with their humble words, I have a very good explanation for this. Because it's too good for 5 points. It's ridiculous.
Melta is really solid this edition.
I agree, and I've got no problem with Melta or the stats of Melta, even the stats of this gun. I love its 2 shots, I love its twin linked, I love its strength 8, its AP 1, beautiful. 5 points is too cheap.
It's 24 inch range.
Yeah. It's too cheap.
I find it amusing that something like a plasma or an autocannon is 10 points and it only comes in at 5.
Yeah, whenever you a tactical squad with plasma guns and melta guns and plasma guns are typically melta guns are more expensive.
Yeah. Now you can stick a multi melter, a melter gun in its fist.
Absolutely fine.
You
That
can
costs 15 points.
you can also you also have to remember that this thing runs or moves 8 inches. It's not heavy, so it can run. And it's a dreadnought, so it ignores all movement penalties in regarding to when it's moving, because it always fires as though it's stationary. Now, we just want to do a quick rules clarification here. A dreadnought cannot shoot at a different target and then charge at something else. We've had this conversation amongst the community, and after countless reading of this rule, that the dreadnought rule does override all of the shooting rules in regards to it always counts as stationary, but the rules for close combat specifically state at the bottom that you have to charge what you shot at. So, and that's pretty clear. And we've had a number of conversations with some other people in the wider community. And that's the general consensus that, yeah, that was. So in previous podcasts, we have talked about doing this thing with dreadnoughts. We were wrong. You have to charge what you shoot at.
But that's learning as part of the game.
Yes.
And if you can't improve off of your mistakes, what do you do?
There was interpretation that because it ignores all shooting penalties or anything to do with shooting, because it always counts as stationary, that you were able to shoot at something and then charge something else. Now, I believe in 7th edition they used to be able to do that before.
We've noticed a little bit of like bleed over from older editions.
Dreadnoughts used to be able to do things like that, but in Heresy 2.0 they can't do that.
Because dreadnoughts are a completely different thing compared to what they used to be.
Yeah, they are completely busted. Contemptor dreadnoughts are probably by far one of the best units in the game right now. Point for point, they really are good.
I really like taking one with 2 Carries assault cannons.
Yeah, the Carries assault cannon is a solid weapon system. But then there's very few weapon systems for the Contemptor that are bad. Now, I didn't really like the conversion beamers. I thought conversion beamers were crap, overcosted, and not very good, until I faced 2 Contemptors with conversion beamers. And then we're like, oh my god.
Was it dual conversion beamers? Or
no, they just had the single conversion beamer. Okay. And I was like, oh my god, these things are actually scary. And then trying to get to them was then become a problem, because as soon as you got close to them, they just ran away 8 inches. And it was like, stay where you are so I can kill you. But they changed my mind on conversion beamers. I think if I was going to bring conversion beamers...
Blind is quite annoying, isn't it?
Blind is really annoying. Especially when you're relying on that weapon skill on elite Terminators to take you through the combat. But yeah. So, obviously you can equip a Contemptor with a Havoc Launcher. Or you can equip it with a Helix targeting array, so you get the Skyfire and all of that intercept kind of cool stuff, which is kind of what the Dodo has. So it's a very versatile dreadnought. It can fit multiple rules, so you can.
I actually quite like the Havoc Launcher sometimes.
I bring the Havoc Launcher on mine because it's fun just to pop those shots off.
I mean, it's a twin-length small blast, heavy bolter shot. Pretty much. Yeah. It's not bad for just an extra little bit of shooting, because if you don't shoot, and you're free to shoot at things, why not just try and cause as many saves as you can, right?
But the Achilles assault cannon is a solid take. The Volkite is a solid take for it. The Melter gun is an amazing take on it.
Yeah.
Which I run on mine because you get it as part of the kit for the Age of Darkness.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The Gravis plasma cannon it can take doesn't have Gets Hot.
It does not. And the Gravis rule is kind of cool as well because it normally means that there's at least 2 shots there.
Yeah.
So that las cannon is pretty nice.
Yeah.
And it's only 15 points. So you're getting a nice cost-effective unit in the elite shot. Now, the problem is it's an elite. And just like the Leviathan in the heavy support choice, there is a lot of cool options in your elite slots. But the Talon makes that a little bit bearable.
Yeah, it's much the same way that you'll have like your apothecaries and your elite slots because they don't really they're taking up a slot, but you don't see them because they spread everywhere.
Yeah,
the Dreadnoughts are much the same. You're getting that extra points investment because you can get 3 for 1, which is always quite nice. Especially whenever you're trying to stack up your elites or your heavy support slots with other things, right?
Yeah, but I mean, if you're trying to go for that Terminator heavy, then obviously you're going to go for Pride of the Legion. If you're going to go for your destroyers and your stuff like that, then there's going to be a Rite of War to basically lean into those, which generally frees up your elite slots for more Contemptors.
There's always ways and means with different rights of war and stuff, but just using the base Force Org as like a base, it's those Talons really do make up for how many Dreadnoughts people are taking now.
Yeah.
Because before you used to see 1 or 2, but you would have always seen more tanks than you would have Dreadnoughts.
Yeah, I think in 2nd edition, infantry supported by Dreadnoughts is the.
It's certainly the way that I like to play.
Yeah. I'm happy that I've got my armored list now.
I also don't like to, even though I've just recently gone through Dread Appreciation Day with a fantastic little 2,000 point Fury of the Ancients list. It was.
I was looking at the stuff that was getting posted and just chuckling away that I was very disappointed that there wasn't really anything anti-Dreadnought turned up, though, was there?
You've caught a bad day for it because a lot of like personal issues cropped up within the group that prevented people from turning up and work got in the way. But you know what? I still got to have a throwdown of robots v robots versus a mechanical player.
That's what you want. Yeah, but I'm a big fan of Dreads. Leviathans and Contemptors mainly. There are the box Dreadnoughts in the Legacy.
I mean, I took one. It was the first thing to die in my Fury list. For, I mean, how many points is it? It's 125 points for a box knot. It's movement 6. It's heavy. Its strength and toughness is 6. It's got 5 wounds and it's initiative 2. Right? So it's slower. It has its own little version of the invulnerable save generator, but its explosion is at strength 6 instead of strength 8. Right?
Okay.
You can take up to 2 in additional in a Talon. You can put it in a drop pod if it's alone. It comes with a bolt cannon, just like the Contemptor. It has a Gravis Power Fist with a built-in combi bolter as standard. It's got a decent amount of options, much like the Contemptor does. It throws back to the box not being able to take missile launchers, which is quite cool. Flamestorm cannons is a personal throwback for me to the old Siege Dreadnought.
Right.
The old box Siege Dreadnought. You've got Gravis Plasma Cannon, which, as we've already discussed, is a pretty cool piece of kit.
Yeah.
It doesn't get a Gravis multi-melta, it gets a regular multi-melta at 20 points.
Wow. I think I'm not too sure if the kit is being discontinued. I think the Ironclad and stuff like that have, but I'm not too sure.
The class, unless it's the Space Wolf only and the Blood Angel, it's like the chapter specific ones I think are staying.
Yeah, for now, but I'm pretty sure
the generic ones are.
I think the normal Dreadnought is staying. I know the Ironclad is definitely going. But when I get my Space Marine Codex for 10th edition, I'll let you know.
Is there any release schedule for 40k happening yet?
Tyranids are on pre-order now, and then Space Marines will be coming very shortly. And then it'll be the new things will be coming thick and fast. I think there's two additional. I think there's another 2 codexes coming later this year after the Marines and Nids, and then springtime next year there's like 4 coming. Dark Angels, Custodes being 2 of them, and Chaos Space Marines. I think.
Yeah, well, with a lot of the kits, with a lot of the armies being recently refreshed, other than new additions, there can't be that much that they actually need to do into their release schedule for each. So it should be a pretty rapid thing, right?
I think from what they've said is everything that comes out will be getting something new. Be it a new HQ or a new unit. Dark Angels are getting an entire Primaris refresh. Blood Angels and Space Wolves are allegedly getting theirs as well, like the Black Templars did. So, but that's the Games Workshop's focus now seems to be very much pushing forward with the Primaris and removing the Firstborn from the 40k range, really.
At the same time, new Scouts.
Yes. I said in the rumour video that this was coming. I've said about Scout models for quite some time, especially more so as soon as we've seen the actual physical updated Scout model in the Black Templar Primaris Crusader Squad. As far as I'm aware, they're pretty much Scouts, exactly how you would expect a Scout to be. Are they going to be good for 40k for 30k? Yes. If you get rid of the Aquila off the chest, which is not hard to do, they would look really good as either Scouts or Recon Marines. I'm looking at mine for looking at them for a potential Recon Marine squad.
I don't think I would remove the Eagles. I think I would just paint them black.
I would remove them.
I would try and remove the ones that I could, but you see if it's not that visible, because because this was another one of the Nova launches, and it does look like there's going to be cloaks that can be put. Only one?
Yeah, I think the box comes with the parts to build 1 sniper. So I think, unlike the old days where you could build 5 snipers in a box, it seems to be that now Scouts are going to either have a sniper, a heavy bolter, or a missile launcher. I think gone are the days where we get 5 snipers or 10 snipers. I think snipers are now just like that 1 weapon. And I can understand why on a rules point for 40k, because characters are now in units. And we've kind of gone back from that, and they can be targeted by snipers, whereas before they couldn't really be, because you could kind of hide characters around your units. It kind of blocked you from targeting them. But with the way that the rules work now is that if you've got a sniper, they can target characters. So a 5-man sniper squad for Scouts would be pretty OP. So I can see why they've done it. Plus the new sniper rifle looks really good. it really does look like a modern day sniper rifle. So I'm kind of excited by that. I think there was only enough in there for one guy.
That's a little disappointing.
Buy 5 boxes.
Yeah.
Buy 5 boxes and give me the other scouts that you don't want, and I will build my Recon Marine squad out of that. There you go. And you've got a 5-man sniper squad for your Space Wolves. You can even keep the sergeant with the beard. And,
wow.
You're
so generous.
And you can add Space Wolf heads to your, because this is a bag of Space Wolf heads. Apparently, there's also a gun in there. There's a plasma gun. But yeah, you'll have to get them off me. But yeah. I like the new scouts. I think the scouts are going to be an interesting, because they're now plastic, they're updated, they look better than the Wayne Rooney version.
I think I can imagine the Raven Guard and the Alpha Legion players among us adding some to their army. As well as Emperor's Children, because you don't have to do any changes. They would have worn the Aquila during the Heresy.
Yeah.
But yeah, they look cool. Don't remove the eagle if you don't want to, and just use them.
I'll when I get my hands on them, I'll do a video with removing the eagle and showing an easy way of doing it. If I remember rightly from what I've seen of the kit, the actual thing around the neck, the hose pipe breather unit, I think that's separate.
Oh, that's cool.
So I think if that's separate, you're able to basically change and remove it. It wouldn't be hard to do. He's gone again.
Yes. Gone again, back again.
So it's due to the fact that we are having technical difficulties, or Kyle is having technical difficulties. We'll not run as long as we normally do. So we'll call the stream there. We've covered. Oh, I've gone. I'm back. I knocked my mouse. So we'll call the stream there. But what shall we do next week?
Ooh. What do we want to do?
Shall we cover the Ultramarines and get them done? I know it's going to be a boring podcast, but we have to do them.
I mean, I know that you have played Ultramarines in the past.
I have, yes.
So it'll be very good to see what they're like before and after, because I know that they can't. Because the way that I always thought of them in the first edition was that they were like the toy of Heresy.
They had a lot of shooting mechanics and shenanigans in first edition, and I believe that has changed somewhat.
Yes. And I think that because the Ultramarines aren't the poster boys anymore, I think that there's actually a little bit more love for them.
I've always liked the Smurfs. The Ultramarines have always been cool, even now in like 10th edition 40k. The only reason why I'm not technically painting them is because I want a more 2nd edition old school looking army. Hence the reason why I've gone for Howling Griffins. But saying that, I did find Guilliman in my bits box, who I'm going to get cleaned up and paint him up for 10th edition, because I play an Ultramarine successor, so I could technically run him alongside my Howling Griffins with no problem.
No problem at all. I mean, Guilliman's the man in charge. He can go wherever he likes.
He is the emperor in all but name, basically. But yeah, we'll do the Ultras. We'll do the Smurfs. They're an interesting legion. I've got a lot of love. It's about the only time that I would entertain the idea of the legacy document, because of a certain unit that is in there. Yeah.
The dreaded, the terrible.
They are so busted. Sasha needs at least 2 more squads of them. These guys scary.
These guys make the what are the Iron Warriors version called?
Tyrant Siege Guard. Yeah.
Yes, the Tyrant Siege Terminators. They put them to shame.
They do and they don't. If the Tyrant Siege Guards get shot at and they haven't used their Legion reaction, then the Tyrant Siege Guard just like show the full Mentaurus up, because it's stupidly busted. But the full Mentaurus are kind of scary. But we'll go into them more when it comes
into that whenever we have all of our technical issues.
We'll do Ultramarines next week.
And pre-orders for that champion are happening soon, aren't they?
Pre-orders are already up. Mine is in the post. It should have been here yesterday, but he hasn't arrived. Typical Forge World. So
typical Northern Ireland, I would go.
Yeah, I would. That's the one reason why I didn't order my Cities of Sigmar online, because I wanted them this weekend. But the Dreadnought. Oh, sorry, the Dreadnought. The Legion Champion has been pre-ordered and should be here. But I probably expect him to drop sometime next week.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what, because obviously we've only seen the one pose, we've seen the two heads. I want to see how attached that combi bolter is to whatever else he's doing.
I can tell you now that shoulder pad and that arm, or at least that arm and the shoulder pad, will be separate. I can guarantee it now that it'll be two parts: the arm with the weapon and the shoulder pad. Just like the librarian is, because the librarian, that one shoulder pad with the arm outstretched, it was separate, whereas the other one wasn't, because it had the cloak built into it, and then the hand with the weapon was separate. But I can pretty much guarantee now that he's holding that melter. You're not getting away with it. But you'll probably be able to change the arm completely. But what I'll do is, if everyone who's interested in the champion, if you check out my Instagram, there is a link in the description below. As soon as I've got it, I will take lots of pictures and throw them up on Instagram. And if he's here for next week, I'll talk about him and explain what parts we have in that kit. Because
are you gonna do him with a head or a helmet?
I think I have a Mark III head with laurels, and I'm going to give him that, I think.
Ah, okay. So go for the full regalia.
Yeah, because it's a Mark VI helmet that you get.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think I've got a Mark III head with laurels, so I'm going to go for that. If not, I'll just
swap out that combi bolter for a thunderhammer.
No. No. I quite like the pose. I quite like the model. The arm may get changed for a different arm, but I want to see how poseable and how easy it is to swap out once I get it. But yeah, I've got quite a few parts now. But also painting wise as well, for channel stuff, there has been the first of the Heresy painting videos.
You did a Death Guard guy, didn't you?
Yeah, the Death Guard is up. I was going to lift him up and show you, but I put him somewhere. So that's up there now. Raven Guard is going to be the next one. That'll be up in a week or so. And then there'll be, I'm going to do like a trader, loyalist, royalist, work through them. So that's kind of cool. So that's coming up. And there's going to be like a worn leather video coming up soon. I think by the time you've watched this or listened to this, the worn leather should be up on the channel. So if you want to like get a real sort of dirty, busted up worn leather for your models, that's going to be there. And there's going to be a really cool Emerald Lightning Power Sword tutorial coming as well. So
nice.
Painting wise, there's a lot of cool stuff coming.
What's on the building? Last remarks. What's on the building table for you at the moment, Rick?
Cities of Sigmar for Age of Sigmar right now.
Okay.
Literally because I've just got the box, so I've been getting these guys done. I do need to actually record the video for the Marshal for Patreon. And Sanguinius has been built. I will be starting to work on Sanguinius very soon. Yeah.
All right, cool.
But for Heresy, everything's built. It's just a matter of painting now.
That is always a struggle, is to find the time to be able to sit down and paint. I've always found it's very easy to be able to find time to build models but never paint them.
Yeah, I'm unfortunately in that normal thing that I get every now and again where I build the army. I've used it for half a dozen times. I built and painted a few bits and pieces, and then I'm like, ooh, I could build and paint that. So I need to sort of push through that and just continue doing what I'm doing. And then once more of the army starts looking like a salamander army, I kind of lose that feeling of wanting to go and do something else. Because I'm like, ooh, this looks really cool, and it didn't. And then
because we all suffer from the same problem, that we see the nice shiny new toy, we want the nice shiny new toy.
Yeah, but the problem is, I got the whole shiny new toy thing before seeing Fulgrim dropping.
Yeah.
And I like the week or so before, I was talking about an Emperor's Children or a World Eater's Army.
Just if I'm doing White Scars in the new year, you should be doing something similar.
Well, we you know what? As everybody like was picking the points, which we decided was going to be 1,000. You guys can choose Emperor's Children or World Eaters. And that will be my New Year project. I will do 1,000 points of Emperor's Children or World Eaters.
Yeah, it's like 1,000 points. It's very easy to make 1,000 points into Zone Mortalis as well. As long as they're valid for either, I think it's a cool wee New Year project for us.
Now, the one thing that I will say is, if over the next few months they do show a World Eater Praetor set, and they are amazing looking models, and I mean, when I say amazing, they look better than the Emperor's Children ones.
Yeah.
I will be like, I'm doing World Eaters, and there'll be no discussion on that. At the moment, Emperor's Children are winning purely because the Power Armored Praetor is just, I want to paint that model. Fulgrim, obviously, is a really big factor, but then I'll probably get him to paint regardless.
Yeah, because whenever you've got a small force like that, that's just a collector's piece. That's just I mean, it's one of the best. If it doesn't get Model of the Year, what are they doing?
Yes. Expect a good few of those models.
I mean, I know that's a brave statement for such an unsophisticated person as myself.
Well, technically, it's not going to be out until next year.
Okay, so give it to next year whenever it's released.
Technically, it's not going to be out till next year, because if it works like Horus Ascended was initially shown at Nova, just like Fulgrim, but he didn't turn up until pre-order until January. So I'm not expecting to see... Yeah. But then they have said that he'll be out in the autumn.
Oh.
So that gives them till the 21st of December to get it out.
Is that as specific as whenever autumn ends?
Yes. 21st of December is the first day of winter. It's the start of the winter solstice.
Oh.
Yes. So technically they've got until the middle of December to get him out. So from pretty much the next couple of weeks, I think we're going to be moving into autumn. Autumn is in the next week or so.
Merry Christmas, son. I've got you a massive tentacled snake demon.
That'll probably be me at Christmas. Oh, look what I bought myself! La-la! And then for our first podcast of 2024, it'll be like, so Kyle's doing White Scars for his 1,000-point project. What are you doing? Well, I've got Fulgrim. That's it. This is my 1,000 points. Yeah. So it's a big factor on my decision. But the World Eaters, they need a lot of love.
Because the World Eaters were one of the first released.
They were the first released. The World Eater stuff was the first to come out. Angron was the first Primarch. So, but this is like what we were saying earlier in the podcast in regards to how Fulgrim has kind of sort of changed how we're looking at the 30k. The fact that we have 3 Demon Primarchs that are in plastic and now Fulgrim in resin. And we know that there's a 40k version of Fulgrim coming. Codex Emperor's Children and all of the plasticsness of 40k will be coming at some point during 10th edition. So that's going to happen. For 30k, what Fulgrim has essentially done is when that potentially means there's going to be a Matorian demon resin model.
Well, this
a Magnus demon resin model, and an Angron demon resin model. Potentially.
So
Logar is definitely one that will probably more than likely happen now for 30k as a demon prince, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that he was a demon Primarch during the Siege of Terra. I believe the only traitors to be not demons was Conrad Kurz and Perdurabo. Were the only 2 not to be. And Alfurius. Well, Alfurius is dead and at that stage, and Omegaron is not a demon Primarch. So there's 3 non-demons. I'm pretty sure Logar was a demon by the Siege of Terra. We have the 4 cult. We have the 4 cult ones, and Horus is practically a demon in all but shape anyway. He's on
he's like the Roid man at that point.
He's on warp dust.
So he's the Kaldor Drago of Heresy.
So there's a lot of cool stuff. Now, regarding those rumors that were floating around, like I said in my video about it, that there's a lot of bullshit in that list. The Novaopen previews pretty much kills all of those rumors are dead in the water. And a lot of it definitely seems a lot made up. And I know from speaking to my sources, the vast majority of all of it is bullshit. The reason why that I don't think we're going to be seeing a Siege of Terror campaign book anytime soon is because of those four demon Primarchs that kind of need to be done if Forge World are going to be doing them.
I mean, it certainly gives me hope that it is like what we've talked about in the previous
I think it's
previous
Morlock.
episodes.
I think it's going to be Morlock.
They're going to take it at snippets at different time frames, and it's not going to be just one continuous story. It's going to, because the story's being told, we're just getting to play through it again. Yeah,
but they haven't finished telling the Siege of Terror. We'll get part 2
get
at the end of this
eventually.
year, and then there's going to be at least 6 months, maybe a year before we get part 3. So there's at least a year before we're going to be able to get the full story, and there's going to be certain things that are going to happen in those books that the campaign book will reference, so they can't do the campaign book and reference those events without spoiling the novel.
Yeah.
So I don't think Siege of Terror is coming, purely based on that alone. Fulgrim is, unfortunately, I think, a massive killer for the Siege of Terror book right now, because Games Workshop have to introduce the demon form of Fulgrim to the 30k setting, and that's going to need a campaign book in its own self, because
we
it
don't
has to have that.
We don't have rules for this model yet.
Not at all.
This is a complete teaser, and we are, because of what they've done, that's why it set these sort of cogs in motion.
Yeah.
And we're thinking to ourselves, well, okay, So that lines up with what we were talking about, and that doesn't, so that gets binned.
Now,
and this is giving us hope.
Yeah, I will think that using the Black Library novels, I do think that the next campaign book is going to be the conflict that Exterminatus evolves around, which was the Iron Warriors, Emperor's Children. Everyone's going to hate it, but against the Imperial Fists. And I'm pretty sure it's the Imperial Fists. Yes, it is. Pretty sure it is the Imperial Fist, because I think Dawn gets absolutely shit kicked by Fulgrim. And with looking at the roadmap, and this is literally pure conjecture right now.
Oh, entirely speculation.
Completely.
With the largest pinch of salt with our ramblings.
But using a lot of what we know and a lot of what they've shown, and using the roadmap as a firm sort of guideline here, I think the next campaign book will definitely probably be that conflict, because that's when Demon Primarch Fulgrim appears. Imperial Fists get some more Imperial Fist love. That's cool. We know that there's going to be character upgrades and character models coming out, so I'm going to say that the winter resin characters that they've said on the roadmap are going to be the Iron Warriors Praetor sets.
Ooh,
and that'll coincide with the campaign. Yes. Yeah. I think that's what it's going to be. I'm pretty much... I'll be highly surprised if we don't see the Iron Warriors next, we don't see any Iron Warrior love next, and that the next campaign book is not Iron Warriors, Emperor's Children, and Imperial Fists.
We need an Iron Bros compilation where the Iron Hands and the Iron Warriors both get their Praetors.
Yeah. I'll be highly surprised if they don't go down that route. Purely because it's the only real logical way of introducing Fulgrim to the setting as a demon Primarch, when that's how he gets around. I mean, he practically tries to sacrifice Perturabo to basically become demon.
Yeah.
Like,
doesn't he curse him or something? And that's...
Yeah, he just pisses Perturabo off, and Perturabo's like up until that point in the book.
Isn't that why everybody in 40k land is talking about the Perturabo demon dreadnought?
Well, the demon version of Perturabo doesn't come until after the heresy. Perturabo doesn't like chaos, and he doesn't gain demonhood until after the Iron Cage. And not because he worships chaos, he believes that it's the best way for him to achieve his goals.
It's out of necessity, rather.
It's not. He doesn't worship the Pantheon. He has no interest in.
So he's a demon prince of undivided nature.
He's fully undivided. Yeah, but he doesn't become a demon Primarch until after the Iron Cage, which is after the heresy.
Yeah, because the Iron Cages, that was his ritual to attain it, right?
It was his plan to fuck Dawn over and wipe out the Imperial Fists and kind of finish this. Because essentially that's what the Siege of Terror is all about. It's not Horus and the Emperor, it's Dawn versus Perturabo. That is entire conflict is that. It's who's the best at siegecraft. Who can build the better walls and who can pull them down better.
Build a better wall.
Yeah, that is literally what the Siege of Terror is. And Horus knows this, and that's why he's like, Perturabo, you go do you. And Dawn knows that this is what's happening, and it's kind of like, who's the best siege guy? And that's basically what it boils down to. And as soon as Horus kind of lets Matorian do his thing and sort of take the charge, Perturabo essentially sort of like throws his head up his ass and leaves and is like, nah, I'm done with this crap. But yeah, like, and the Iron Cage was basically his way of killing his brother and showing that he is better than Dawn, And ultimately, the Chaos Gods were like, well, yeah, you do this, we'll make you a Demon Prince. And it was like a big, massive ritual for that. So the one thing he never expected was Bobby G to rock up with the Ultramarines and kick his ass. So,
yes. So we obviously we've still got a lot of content to go. We haven't even made to the daunting part of the Loyalist book yet.
Well, we'll get there. What we're going to do is they're going to do the Ultramarines next, and then we're going to do a really cool legion called the Blood Angels, and then we'll do the Sons of Horus and start the traders. And make you Imperial Fists players wait, because you know what? You get far too much love as it is from Games Workshop. To be fair, we should just do them and just get them over and done with.
I am looking forward to whenever we can go into the rebellious side of the heresy.
The traders are going to be
to see what, because they can do an awful lot of fun things just like the Loyalists can.
Yeah,
it's like Imperial Fists. They might not be receiving much love because all we see is Imperial Fists, but Imperial Fists aren't unkillable.
No, and
I think that there's a negative light being shown on them that you'll always see an Imperial Fist, but that's just numbers. That's what Imperial Fist players do.
Yeah,
they
I mean,
play in numbers and claim victory for each other.
It's nice to see that the Imperial Fists are getting some love after so long. It's kind of cool that they are the poster children of the heresy now, and they've taken over the Ultramarines, because it always used to be the Ultramarines, even in first edition.
Where Ultramarines weren't even that big of a player during the heresy.
No, that's because they got smashed at Calv, and then they were kind of kept out of the war, quite a lot of it.
The Imperium Secundus thing was its own little story.
Yeah.
And really, because they were sidelined on purpose, because Horus didn't want to deal with them, right?
There's just too many of them. But
yeah,
one of the cooler things I really love in the Siege of Terror book right now, at the end of like the first part of it, is like the Emperor decides he's going to attack the Vengeful Spirit, and they launch that assault, and everything happens around it. And just as they launch that assault and leave, the Astropaths get the message that Guilliman and the Ultramarines are 9 days out. They're here. Salvation is literally on the edge of the solar system. They're about to get in, and it's all going to go into the Loyalist favour. And the Emperor walks into the Vengeful Spirit, which is not what we all thought it was. And it just goes shits up.
Because it wasn't a ship anymore at that point. It was some sort of hell beast.
It's kind of sort of
its own warp dimension.
Kind of and kind of not. It's like the Emperor's Palace and the Vengeful Spirit are kind of overlapping each other in reality, and it's kind of like warping into it. So essentially what's happening at this point in the book is time has stopped. Terror is in its own little bubble, and it's all fucked up. So it's like they really go into detail and describe what's happening, and it's mental, the fact that they have like a map of the Imperial Palace, and like they're going, but what's that? That doesn't exist. And they're like, well, what is it? And when they actually go there, it's actually a part of the Vengeful Spirit. So the two things are like overlapping each other, but merging in reality. So the Vengeful Spirit isn't in orbit; it's kind of on the ground, a part of the Emperor's Palace right now.
So there's a tangible point in both places where they intersect.
Yeah, it's the Chaos Gods. At this point, the Chaos Gods are winning.
That sounds like some Doctor Who bullshit right there.
Yeah, it's proper messed up. It's screwed, but it's really cool because these are the kind of things that they're kind of exploring with the new books. Whereas it was like at the original story, the Horus was on a bunker on the ground, and they assaulted the bunker complex to get to him, and that little nameless Imperial guardsman does his valiant charge to try to kill Horus to save the Emperor and gets killed, which results in the Emperor basically mind-bulleting Horus into oblivion. And then we got the newer lore where it was a custodian guard that tried to save the Emperor. Now it's going to be Loken. So all I'll say is basically that due to skullduggery and shenanigans, Loken ends up on the Vengeful Spirit, even though he's not a part of the initial assault. Because he has to be there, because he's going to be the one that confronts Horus when the Emperor needs him the most. He is going to be...
At that point, isn't Loken referring to himself as Cerberus or something?
It kind of has that weird alter ego when he gets found on Esteban 3. Now, I never liked Loken because for me, Esteban 3 is the perfect heroic last stand. They all went into that knowing after the virus bombing that they were literally going to die, but it was like, how much damage can we cause and how much time can we delay them for Gyro to get the message back to the loyalists? And it was that perfect, you knew that they were all dead. It's kind of like watching Rogue One. You know that they're all going to die. But it's like, but it's so cool about the whole thing. And that was kind of what I thought about Esteban 3, was like, these guys are all they're all dead. These amazing characters.
We're talking about was it the Flight of the Eisenstein, the name of the book?
Yeah, well, there was Galaxy in Flames, the Flight of the Einstein, and a bit of Fulgrim, kind of covered Esteban 3. Sure. But it was a really cool narrative that these guys are dead and they know it. They know they're dead, especially when Angron lands and they're like, well, fuck. And it was just a matter of how much they can delay Horus and his plan, and if they can get the word out what's just happened. But then they brought Loken back, and it was like... Now, bearing in mind, in that book, in the very same sort of stories, there's a bunker complex that's been sealed with Rylor, the Emperor's Children loyalist Contemptor Dreadnought. Yeah. Now, he's in a bunker underneath that planet, sealed inside it, and that was kind of like a really cool plot point, because everyone's like, because they made a point of saying this, and it's like, ooh, I wonder if he's going to be found. No. Now, Loken was found wandering around a virus orbital bombarded planet. Now, bearing in mind, Loken survived the fight with Abaddon. He survived being stepped on by an Imperator Titan and a building falling on top of him, to then watch the orbital bombardment from the traitor fleet when Horus decided he'd had enough and he was just going to get rid of them. Somehow he survives all of this to then be found later on by Gyro and have a complete new alter ego and got smacked out of it and then eventually become Loken again. So at that point I didn't...
The Sigilite and all that sort of stuff.
He's a cool character now.
He's a cool character now, but
at that point I was like raging, so angry that they brought him back. I was like, of course Dan Abnett brought him back.
I mean, some people talk about plot armor, and obviously Karn is a perfect... Karn, Ahriman, Typhus are all perfect examples of plot armor for Heresy because they exist in 40k. However, Loken, I think, takes it to the nth degree for Heresy because you can see his plot armor is massive. I mean, he is thick.
Yeah, I mean, I predicted that Loken was going to be the one to confront Horus to save the Emperor back when they reintroduced him back into the story after they found him, after Gyro found him. I was like, 100% Loken's going to be the one that does this.
I mean, it's that classic tale of you have the upstanding captain among a bunch of guys who are going foul. It's like, obviously he survived his trial by fire, but he lost his brain. Yeah. So while he was being the scarecrow for a bit, he found himself, and then he's on his redemption arc.
Yeah, it kind of does.
It should all end in a massive self-sacrifice, because you can't have it any other way.
But again, we thought we were going to get that in Vengeful Spirit when he confronts Horus.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, this is it. And then he survived and
Could
got
it be
away. And
that
it was like, oh, here we go.
it's the biggest double fake in all of history, and he's actually been working for Big Daddy Horus all along and stabs him?
I've always imagined that if Loken had turned traitor with the rest of them, that Loken would have been the perfect character for the Korthia campaign. Like, he would have been the perfect Sons of Horus, like that mentality.
He would have been a paragon of everything good, and
that
they
the Legion stood for,
represented.
and he kind of still does.
But the problem was that he wasn't aligned with the rest of the Legion.
No. There's a very
It's like he went, no, guys, no.
Well, there's a very cool part. I think it's in the third book where the Moraval are all on the dais, and I think they're getting ready for Estevan 3, and it's kind of like Loken and Torrigeddon are on one side, and little Horus and Ezekiel are on the other, and it kind of describes how these four guys just do not like each other, like at all. Like it's clearly split at that point, and you kind of and you know straight away that Loken and Torrigeddon are going to get dicked and sent to Estevan 3. You just know it. And it's like, you guys are dead and you don't even know it. But I think it's like so. But even what they're doing with Abaddon in the Heresy novels in the Siege of Terror is really interesting. The fact that he doesn't like chaos. He doesn't like all of this bullshit that's happening. He doesn't see what they're doing as being honourable anymore. He's kind of lost faith in Horus.
Yeah, because he fought for a cause. He was the disgruntled son by the end of it all. Because then he went off. Because after they got kicked off into the Eye of Terror, obviously he went off.
He leaves. Yeah, have you read the Black Legion novels?
I have. Yes,
that's a really good book. Really good book.
Pisses off on a pilgrimage.
Hippie Abaddon is amazing.
But then he's
gone again.
he hears word of people trying to like clone Horus, and he just musters everybody up into a frenzy.
That's what pisses him off.
Beats down a door, probably slaps what's his face in the head. Yeah. Probably slaps him across the room. Stabs Horus because he doesn't have his Primarch spark, so he proves that he's even better than Daddy. Takes what armor bits that he wants and says, we're rebranding, guys. I don't like what we've done. Let's change that.
Yeah, I think he's the one that kills the Legion.
He kills the Legion and then reforms it into his own thing. But the problem is that Abaddon is not a smart cookie.
In 40k he is.
Well, what I mean by is he is a frontline commander. He doesn't have the same sort of tactical acumen as other people in the setting. And being pegged as the leader of the opposing force, I think that some decisions go the wrong way because he makes them.
I don't 100% agree with that, because his record alone was like the Sons of Horus were like one of the most successful of all of the legions. They had the highest tally because of Horus. But Abaddon was like his war record alone was one of the highest in the Sons of Horus, which speaks for itself.
Yeah, but body count isn't good tactics.
Well,
every stage.
Successful campaigns is, but in 40k, this is a guy that's just a normal Marine. He's not anything special, but he's making demon Primarchs kneel to him.
Was he not? He's
the clone of Horus? No.
No. I'm talking about the OG Horus. The way that he was blessed by all the gods. Doesn't Abaddon not have that same thing?
Sort of, but not like a Horus. Horus gave in to them, where Abaddon's like, nah. I'm going to do this, but you work for me. I don't work for you.
Yeah. Because I know that there was like I don't know if it was a short story about Be'lakor and Abaddon, because Be'lakor sort of follows Abaddon around like a
Yeah,
shadow.
Be'lakor hates him, but Be'lakor hates Archeon in Age of Sigmar
But
because
Be'lakor hates him but helps him
he has to.
because have
That's
to.
he has to because Be'lakor's story in both settings is the same. He was the first demon prince, and
Okay.
he decided to think he was going to become a god, and the Chaos Gods let him do what he was doing because it was funny. And then when he got to that point of almost becoming a god, they bitch slapped him and went, "No, from now on, you're the guy who's going to crown the Everchosen." And and Abaddon in 40k is essentially the same role as what Archeon in Fantasy is. He is essentially the Everchosen. He is the instrument of Chaos's will, but
He's the evil chosen one.
basically, yeah. Whereas Archeon in Age of Sigmar is practically a god in his own right, to the point where he even makes the Chaos Gods kneel to him. Abaddon in 40k is pretty much the same thing. He gets the Demon Primarchs to do his shit. They all swear allegiance to him.
I do like Be'lakor though.
Be'lakor's the wild card of the Chaos element because nobody knows what he's going to do.
Another fantastic model that got redone in plastic.
It is really nice, yeah. It is nice.
With your own Primaris Lieutenant right in the base.
Yes, or a Chaos Warrior if that's the way you incline. And Age of Sigmar is a very good game. So
you magnetize the guy in the base, right?
You do, yes.
You go whole hog and you magnetize.
That's cool. He's almost as good as the Tyrannid that's eating the Terminator.
Is that the new Norn Queen?
No, there was an old tentacle thing that come out. I think it was 8th or 9th edition. It's like these tentacles are stupidly large. They're like nearly like 15 inches out around the face. They're huge. But there's this Terminator on the floor that it's kind of stood on, that it's kind of been eating. It was kind of cool. I quite liked it, but that was kind of like the first time they'd really sort of had this optional piece of base display, which is basically
we've always seen like the odd casualty or like a headpiece or whatever else for bases, but unless you're willing to invest money into the spare parts bin to get like arms and like torsos and other dead things.
When I was playing Slaves to Darkness, I used my Chaos Warrior from the Be'lakor kit because I painted him for someone else, and I was allowed to keep him. I used it as an objective marker.
Good shot. It's like the way that you used to get a locator beacon with plastic Terminators. You used to turn that into a lovely little marker.
You still do, and that actually plays a part in the game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's when Terminators come down from their Terminator teleport assault, you place that little beacon where they're going to land. It's kind of the Cities of Sigmar in Age of Sigmar have kind of got the same thing with models. So this little guy comes with the Marshal, so you get these two together. This model has no rules whatsoever.
Okay, so he's a token,
kind of, and your Marshal can can do two things. He can do something, or he can send the Squire as a runner to go and give an order. And basically, you put your Squire model next to the unit that you've just give the order to. And the other unit that's not out yet, they're like the shooty unit, the Fusiliers. They have a little Squire with a load of ammo. And when you use the rule of your ammo replen, I think it's like a one-time thing in the game, and you increase the amount of shots and damage and stuff you do. Yeah. You basically put that little dude next to your unit, so you know you've done it. Really nice thing. Cool. I think cool. I'd like to see something like that in 30k, with giving us those little. One of the things I would like to do.
Are.
Pretty much, yeah. But they kind of get to fight. You could tool them up and you can fight them. My close combat apothecaries will definitely be geared up for killing, because it's an extra guy to start swinging thunder hammers and power fists around. But one of the things I am thinking of doing, and I'm looking for an appropriate model, and I think I found it, is I want a Remembrancer with my salamanders on the ground. And I think I found the model. There is an Infinity model, and the guy's got a camera on his shoulder. And it's kind of
You want to have a report?
I'm going to paint. I think this model comes with like a helmet and body armor, and I'm going to paint the armor and the helmet blue, and then give him fatigues, and then he's going to have a camcorder. So he's like, I've got an embedded CNN journalist fighting alongside my legionaries.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Remembrancers were agents of the Sigilite, weren't they?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So that's why they were hated by most of the legions.
Only because your legion wanted to give them close combat weapons and get them to fight and win worlds for you.
Well, yeah. What else are they going to use their arms for?
Exactly. And other legions use them as stabbing bags. Night Lords. I don't think any of them were stupid enough to actually go with the Night Lords.
I'm sure some were sent.
I think the ones on the World Eaters were definitely killed quite quickly. The Sons of Horus, I know they killed them eventually. You don't want to know. You don't want to know what the Emperor's children did to them. that shit gets dark really quickly. But yeah, I want to build. I want to find and build my little reporter, and have my little guy running around.
I actually find, talking of old models that we're finding, I found my the Navigator that I bought off of you many years ago.
Oh God, he was really good as well.
Yeah.
Again, these are things that I hope we get in a plastic kit at some point, like a Navigator and an Ostropath and stuff like that. That would be really cool.
Yeah, but, I think that's us talked out today.
I think it is. We've definitely padded this one out, peeps.
Yeah, so, I mean, with all of my technical issues, I'm sure that we've got enough content for an episode, right?
I'm not editing this. I'm leaving all of the technical issues in because it's funny.
Oh, so, fantastic!
Because trying to edit that would just be a nightmare. So I'm not even going to bother. So yeah, if you've watched it, thank you.
Good. I mean, well done.
Well done. Give yourself a pat on the back, and while you're there, give us a subscription, like it and comment, and ring the bell. Look at that! Nice. I'm almost like a full-on fucking YouTuber. So yes, but anyway, on regards to that, definitely do that anyway. I'm over 2,000 subscribers now. 2010 was also a very good year, but is also a really good number to be subscribed to. But it could be better. 70% of my viewers have not subscribed. So subscribe will be bigger, and then maybe we'll be big enough where we become Games Workshop shills, and Games Workshop sends us free stuff.
Well, I mean, let's see if we can get big enough to get me a working webcam and microphone.
I could literally give you a working webcam. I will put my camera in my bag, and then on Thursday when you're at the club, you can call over to me and get it off me. And it's literally like this one, and it has a working microphone built in, and it'll be all fine. I will literally give you that camera.
See, we're making it. We've made the dream happen already.
There. I also have Patreon if you want to get extra video tutorials and stuff. There will be starting to be more coming in regards to the Cities of Sigmar. I'll probably do a 30k one on there. It'll be pretty aimed at high end. It's probably going to be an Emperor's Children Praetor in power armor because I don't really care what happens. I am painting that model hook or by crook. And then I'll probably use it in my army or get another one and paint it. But yeah, so keep an eye out for that. That's definitely coming. And I may even do the champion model for Patreon as well. So if you want to throw over, I think it's like £1. There's also painting lessons there if you want online painting lessons. So you can do them. It's like £30 for an hour, or you can pay more and get more hours. It's all completely up to you. It's all done through Discord, and you get access to your own little sort of group from me, and we can see where you are and do what you need to do. But other than that, that's all the plugging. That's all I'm going to do. You can skip this part. And we're going to end it there. So hopefully in the next one, Kyle's shit will be working because he'll have a better camera. And Anki's gone now, so it's just me.
No,
oh no, he's still here.
I'm still here. I'm still here. Just waiting for you to finish your self-endorse.
Yes, I'm got to do it. You got to plug, man. You got to wait until you see my advert I'm going to be putting in videos where it's like, welcome to today's sponsor. Hi, I'm Pointy Paints. Thanks for watching my channel. I've got to embrace this YouTube stuff. So, but yes, thank you very much to everybody who supported us for now and everybody who watches and listens to the podcast. If you do like the cameras and actually seeing us, let us know in the comments, because we can only get better at this if you actually let us know what we're doing wrong. I know there's a lot of things that we're doing wrong.
I mean,
but
yeah.
We're two old guys that basically talking shit about toy soldiers. There's one older guy and one youngerish guy. He's still old. Don't let the beautiful face fool you. He's fucking ancient. And we will see you in the other one. Have you got any closing words, Kyle, if you can speak?
Ooh, closing words.
This is where the microphone breaks.
Yeah. This is where just my entire setup just burns in front of me.
Go on then.
So yes, my my closing words. Just enjoy the hobby, everybody. There's tons of new stuff that's coming out. We only need to wait a little bit longer before we see those assault marines, because they're finally talking about them. And happy hobbying, everyone.
Yeah, it's got to be good. But we'll talk more about the assault marines next week. So I'll catch everyone in the next one. See you later, people. Goodbye for now.
Bye.